Hey guys, welcome to my channel. It's not a real, wildly popular channel or anything. I don't promote it or anything like that. But if you have come to my channel, um, if you got a notification that this video was up or something, you probably are one of my few subscribers. And so if you just stumbled upon this video or something, then you may not know, but some of you do know who I am. And if you don't, I'll let you know that I am the guest who started the trouble on the Dr. Phil show um, a long time ago. It was a very long time ago that the video was, that the appearance on the Dr. Phil show happened. It was more than 10 years ago that I was on that show, but I don't know. The video just seems to have this, I don't know, life of its own or something. I'll share this with you guys. This video clip that was put out by CBS, as you can see there, it's it has reached 9,861,000 views and some odd views. This video is approaching 10 million views, and so I don't know if it's like the most watched Dr. Phil video clip on YouTube or not. I'm not sure. I know 10 million views is, I guess, a lot. I don't, I mean, I see some of these 1 million views and some other things. I am really not concerned with that though, but what I'm more concerned with is the fact that this video was put out on YouTube February 2nd of 2007. Okay, that's when the video was put out, in 2007. So now here we are in 2020. Okay, so this video has been up on YouTube for about 13 years. Okay, and so it's been up for a very long time. It's coming up on 10 million views, and so I just thought every now and then I do come and look at the video. I mean, I'm the guy in it who started all the trouble, and so every once in a while, yeah, I just come to see, what people are talking about, and to see if people are still even watching this video. I mean, come on, man, it's been 10 years, over 10 years, so it's been 13 years since this video's been up. 5 years before that, more or less, is when I overcame my compulsive behavior that led to all this. And so it was 5 years that I had overcome this problem before I even went on the Dr. Phil show. And I just come back just to, I scroll down through sometimes just to see what people are saying, because it's something that I'm curious about every now and then. It's not like I live every day. And this is the last video that I'm going to make about this topic. I'm not going to, but I wanted to do this because, again, this thing's coming up on 10 million views, and it's been about 13 years since this video was posted by CBS on YouTube. And so I wanted to make one last video and chime in and put my 2 cents, and I want to put to rest some misconceptions, because there are quite a few misconceptions. Now, don't get me wrong. Most people are very intelligent. Most people are very, very intelligent. They're not stupid. People are not as stupid as, people aren't dumb. Don't get me wrong. There are some people who are stupid, but most people are not stupid. So I do want to take a look through some of these comments, just to illustrate that point, because most people are very intelligent. They see what's going on and they're wide awake. Other people, I'll get to them, but the first thing I wanted to do was I wanted to dispel some of the misconceptions about, one, why I went on the show, and a lot of the negative comments. I wanted to make my own comment about some of the negative comments and misconceptions that deal directly with the content of this video. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video because I want to start out and preface all this by saying this. First of all, I want you people to understand this, because this is the most important, by far, the most important thing. The most important thing that I wanted people to understand back then when I went on this show, the message that I wanted them to hear was simply this: anyone who suffers from compulsive behavior, whether you overeat, whether you can't stop gambling, whether you can't stop drinking or shooting up drugs, or whether you can't stop exposing yourself to women, strange women, whether you can't stop, going to brothels, whether you can't get off the internet porn, whatever your compulsive behavior is, it is nearly impossible. People who suffer from these compulsive behaviors, and it could be just being a jerk, could be your compulsive behavior. Maybe you just cannot help being, an asshole, and treating people badly. I mean, that's a good look. Let me explain to you like this. Every behavior known to man, and I say mankind, every behavior known to mankind can be engaged in on a compulsive level. Any behavior. Yeah, I once knew a girl who she would go in the bathroom and she'd be in there for like an hour. Well, I come to find out she's in there washing her hands. She couldn't stop washing her hands. you know, having been affected myself by compulsive behaviors, if I hadn't had suffered from compulsive behaviors myself, I would never have been able to understand that. But I was able to have compassion. I was able to have empathy for this girl and understand the suffering and the pain that caused her. Not being able to control your own behavior it's a devastating thing to have to live with. And so what I wanted people to take away from my appearance on that show was simply one thing. The message that I wanted to convey was simply this: I know that if you suffer from any form of compulsive behavior, you're not doing these things because you want to do them, and you feel powerless. You feel helpless to stop. You've tried everything to stop. You've sworn. You've sworn you'd never do it again. You've gone to great lengths. You stay inside. You do all kinds of things. You swear off, never again will I do that. You hate yourself. You look in the mirror and you loathe yourself because you don't seem to be capable of self-control, in this one area, and in other areas you may have great control, but in this one area, you just can't seem to stop that behavior. Whether you go into the refrigerator, you're already full, but you're going to eat more. You've gambled away all your money. Now you're going to sell your watch so you can gamble some more. You wake up after smoking up all your money and crack or crystal methamphetamine the next morning, and I hate these doggone pop-ups. This browser, this is the worst possible browser. They keep throwing all these pop-ups at you for things that I don't know where these pop-ups come from, but they're a distraction, and I apologize for that. But they'll probably crop up again, so just ignore the pop-ups that pop up on here. It's the Chrome browser. It's a Google product, and I won't even go down that rabbit hole right now. But the thing is, I went on the show to say simply this: if you're suffering from same damn Facebook, it's a Facebook. I may have to redo this video and close down this Chrome browser because I don't want to keep having these distractions and interruptions. I'll try to get through it, but I'm not going to try and rush it because this is important to me, and I think it may be important to other people, some other people as well who suffer from compulsive behaviors, because I know for a fact one time I had been arrested, and I was sitting in a courtroom, and I heard a female, it was a woman, a prosecutor, and she was talking to, I guess, another prosecutor or someone. I'm not sure who this other gentleman was that she was talking to, but I overheard her say, people who have inappropriate sexual behaviors, they can never, ever change those behaviors because their neural pathways are set. And I heard that, and let me tell you something, I was devastated to hear that. I was devastated to hear that because I actually believed this woman. I was young at the time, and I actually believed this idiot, and it was devastating. I slashed my arm from here to here, um, because I felt hopeless. I didn't think that I would ever be able to stop that behavior, and I desperately wanted to stop. You know, and I'm not trying to come off as a victim here. Although many people suffer many things, and so I just suffice it to say this: I understand that if anyone who's suffering from compulsive behaviors like that, you feel hopeless, you feel helpless, you feel powerless, and you feel that you have no hope of ever overcoming that behavior. I know how you feel. And I only came on the show just to say this: it's not true. It's not true. You are not powerless. Your situation is not hopeless, and you can overcome that behavior. How do I know? Because I was the most helpless and the most hopeless of all. And if I could overcome that behavior, my compulsive behavior, you can overcome yours, because I'm no better than anyone else. I'm no, look, I'm not like this exceptional person who has discipline above and beyond that of the average mortal man. Not even close. Okay? In some things I am well disciplined, but when it came to that, I had no more power over it than you do. So if I could get through it and I could overcome and be free from that behavior finally at last, if there was light at the end, then so can you. Light at the end of the tunnel for me, then there's light at the end of the tunnel for you. I'm no different, no better than you are. Now, granted, it's been nearly 20 years. I'm coming up on 20 years of having been set free from this compulsive behavioral prison that I was in for so long. And that's an appropriate way to put it. It was a compulsive behavioral prison. I was a slave to that behavior. And so I understand how you feel. But don't ever, ever give up. Do anything that you can. And this is what I went on that show to say. This is all I went on the show to say. Never give up trying to overcome that frickin' behavior, because you can beat it. And you will beat it if you don't give up. You see? And that's the whole key right there. Never, ever give up. Continue trying to beat that behavior, and by God, one day you will. I promise you, you will. If I did, so can you. And that's what I went on that show to say. Unfortunately, Dr. Phil never allowed me to say it. And here's why. You have to be capable of critical thinking. You have to be capable of looking at things objectively, and you have to be capable of setting aside your emotions and analyzing the wherefores and the whys. You have to understand who you're dealing with. You're dealing with a talk show host who calls himself Dr. Phil. Don't get distracted by the title doctor. Understand who you're dealing with here. You're dealing with a talk show host. You're dealing with a television show host. So what is his primary goal? What is his first and foremost? What is it that is his goal, his thing? What is most important to him not as a doctor? Because let me tell you something. He's not making money off of being in practice as a doctor. He's making money off of people who tune in to watch that television show. You understand that? Okay? He doesn't have patients sitting out in that audience. Those are not patients. Those are audience members. Those are members of an audience, a studio audience is what they call it. So what is his best interest? His best interest is to fill those seats so that when those applause signs come on, all the little housewives sit there and he's got to get that from these idiots who are sitting out there in his audience. And I hate to really call people idiots, but I mean, I call them like I see them. Honestly, these people are not capable of seeing what they're watching. And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole either. But suffice it to say this: Dr. Phil, his interest is in conflict. because that's what people want to see. Unfortunately, people who come to see Dr. Phil are no better than people who go to see Jerry Springer. It's just a glorified trailer park trash who come to see. And I live in an RV park, so okay, I'm not really trying to degrade people who live in RV parks, because I would be degrading myself. It's just, when you think about the the average typical person who goes to see Jerry Springer, these are people who are eager to see conflicts, and I'm talking about physical getting down conflicts, people throwing chairs and stuff like that. Well, Dr. Phil, his audience come from a higher income bracket, and they may seem to be of a higher class, but in reality, they're no better than the people throwing the chairs on the Jerry Springer show. And the reason I say that is because they, just like the Jerry Springer audience members, have a bloodlust, a thirst for conflict. Now, they may not be as honest as the people in the audience at Jerry Springer, and admit that they would like to see that physical low down trailer park beneath them violence. But in reality, they probably would love it, and these same people out there in that audience probably watch the Jerry Springer programs as well. But this is the audience that Dr. Phil must cater to in order to stay in business, you see, because he and Robin, well, they need to make that money. They're more look, Dr. Phil is more interested in giving those people in that audience what they want and what they are craving than he is interested in giving that guest the help that they need. You see, his interest is more in giving the audience what they need. That's that conflict, that desire, that backbiting vulture mentality that they just have that bloodlust, and they have to see Dr. Phil ream somebody, tear him a new, you know what I'm going to say. So that's what they come to see on the Dr. Phil show. And that's what Dr. Phil is obliged to deliver, is conflict. Nobody's going to tune in and watch the We're All Getting Along Great show. They're just not going to tune in for that. So you have to understand that. And so, but that was not my concern in going on the show. I understood all that. A lot of people in the comment section, I'll go down through the comment section. I'll read where they're saying, only an idiot would go on that show. Well, count me that idiot then, because here's the thing. I wasn't thinking about me when I went on the show. No, I was not thinking about me when I went on the show and how I might benefit. First of all, Dr. Phil does not pay anyone, okay? And I knew that going in, I wasn't going to get paid. I also knew that, I would be, I would be attacked by people who just don't get it. And I knew that too. But I just felt it was more important to get the message to those people who want to stop gambling or doing drugs or exposing themselves to women or whatever other compulsive thing, going to the porn sites or, whatever other thing that makes people come away feeling ashamed of what they've done. Okay? I felt it was more important to give those people hope and let them know that, hey, if you hear someone saying that your neural pathways are set and it's hopeless, don't listen to that dirtbag, because that's a lie. It's not hopeless, because I overcame that behavior. Which leads me to another thing people say, in the comment section. And this is not most people. Most people are very intelligent, but there are a lot of morons. And I'm just being honest. There are a lot of completely stupid people, and I'm talking box of rocks stupid, okay? Because they say, well, he's too arrogant. Dr. Phil wants to help him, but he's too arrogant and he won't accept the help. He's angry. Well, okay, let's address that issue first. If you will look at the video, and this is why I call people stupid, because anyone who would say that obviously is not really paying attention. The very first thing that I say in this video, if you listen to it,
Have you asked me what I've done to overcome this problem?
Right there. So the very first thing that I say in the video clip is I asked Dr. Phil, have you asked me what I've done to what? Overcome this problem, which indicates to people of, just average intelligence, the lowest forehead in the room should be able to get that. The lowest forehead in the room should understand that that means what? That I had already overcome the problem when I went on the show. I didn't go on this show to ask Dr. Phil to help me overcome exhibitionism, because I had already done that, and any moron who's listening just heard me say that I overcame that problem, and he hasn't asked me. And I'm trying to get him to ask me how I overcame the problem so that I can deliver that message I talked about earlier. You can overcome it, because I did. And if you need help, I can tell you how I overcame the problem and hopefully help you to overcome it too. Because for every person who overcomes, like exposing yourself to strange women, or anything where another person is harmed or victimized or whatever, every person who stops that behavior, how many potential victims are saved from being victimized? Who knows? Who knows? But I think it's worth it to help the person stop. I think that's a very worthwhile project, is to help people overcome behaviors that are inappropriate and that offend other people. Now, I've never physically harmed anyone, but and I'm not going to go down. I'm not going to get involved in this topic either. But not every woman was offended by what I did. Okay, not far from every woman. In matter of fact, far from every woman was offended by what I did. Quite the contrary. I got lucky more times than I will even go into. I'm not going to go into that right now because that's not the point. But that was part of the reinforcing. That was part of what reinforced the behavior, was that sometimes, hey, it paid off, and it paid off big, because I've been with some very gorgeous women. I'm not going to, that's all I'm going to say about that. When I told Dr. Phil that, he says, well, I find that hard to believe. Well, what I told Dr. Phil about that was, that's the thing about the truth. You got the truth sitting here, and the truth is not contingent upon your belief in it. Only an arrogant person would think that the truth is somehow affected by his belief system. You can believe whatever you want, but it doesn't affect the truth. So anyway, that's not in this clip, but that's what I told him. So anyway, I want to go ahead and I want to address, first of all, some of the other things that were said in this video clip. So I'm going to go ahead and let it play here for a second, but I am going to respond, because I didn't really get a chance to respond adequately when I was on the show, and the reason why is because Dr. Phil set me up. He had his people come to me, and because I had sent I wanted to get this message out that you can overcome these behaviors. So I felt like it was an important message, and I really wanted to let people know that. So his people come to me. They took the pictures. They do the initial interview with me and everything, and they're saying, Dr. Phil thinks it's very admirable you coming forward to share this hope with other people and this and that. So this is the kind of thing they're pumping me full of. This kind of talk, right? I never met with Dr. Phil himself. But this is what he had his people telling me, okay? And we're going to take a hero shot, all this crap, pumping my head, leading me to believe that Dr. Phil was on board with the message that I wanted to send to people struggling with compulsive behaviors. But that was not what Dr. Phil, that was never his intention. As soon as the cameras, I did not know that Dr. Phil had backdoored me until I was on stage and the cameras started rolling, and that's when the attacks and he would imply that he didn't believe I had even overcome the behavior. Like, I'm so stupid that if I hadn't overcome this behavior roughly about 5 years before going on the show, if I wasn't absolutely sure that this behavior was well behind me, is well in the rearview mirror, if I wasn't absolutely sure of that, I would have to be completely stupid. And I hope I don't sound completely stupid. But I would have to be completely stupid to go on nationwide television confessing to what I had done, first of all, which, you would think people would look at as an admirable trait. This guy has confessed what he's done. He's not a lying piece of crap saying I never did it. He's admitting to the things that he's done, and he's saying I have you know, mental anguish about it. I have remorse for the things that I've done, and I want to make amends by doing something to help. And so that's why I went on the show, because I think it's important to try and make amends and do something to help, rather than cause harm. Do something to help. And so that's why I went on the show. But Dr. Phil, he backdoored me. I didn't know that he was going to attack me and imply that maybe I hadn't overcome the behavior. But again, I'd have to be pretty stupid to go on the show, knowing that it's nationwide television, talk about all the things that I've done, and go back out there and do it again. Where would I hide? Where on earth would I hide? I've been on nationwide television. I got recognized after that. There was no way that I could have gone back out, because anybody who knows the first thing about compulsive behavior, it's compulsive, which means there's an obsession of the mind with it, and the behavior is repetitive. You do it over and over and over and over again. You can't go out and do it once a day. It's like all day, And so this is what but this is what it was. And so I went on the show thinking that, Dr. Phil led me to believe that he was an ally and he was going to help me to get that message out that compulsive behavior can be beat. It can be beat. You can beat it. But that's not what he did. He reinforced the notion that it can't be beat. This guy did harm. This guy did harm to anybody watching that show who, if I hadn't spoken up for myself, and if I hadn't, confronted him on some of the things that he said, and I'll get to that, but let's go on, because there are some other things here that Dr. Phil said that were just, again, box of rocks stupid. This man is not intelligent. He's not smart at all, because one-on-one, sitting down across from a person on an even playing field, I would have mopped the floor with this guy intellectually, okay? He may know some words that have more letters than I know in them, but when it comes to critical thinking and the application of common frickin' sense, Dr. Phil doesn't have much. He has to prepare for you in advance, and he has to trick you and set you up and catch you off guard to look so brilliant. Any moron can do that, and any moron did. Let's go on here. I'm going to show you the stupidity right now of Dr. Phil. Now, it says he's flashed over 50,000 women. I would spend time talking about that, but anybody with half a brain, come on, you look at that, and we know that television never sensationalizes anything, right? So I'm not even going to address that number, 50,000 women, who was like, I had a counter with me, okay? So, but anyway, that's the number that they put on there. I'm going to blow right by that, and I want you to listen to this. I just asked him. You haven't asked me how I overcame this problem. Here's what he says.
I don't think you asked that question at all.
I haven't asked that question because I have problems with the answers.
Now, did you hear what Dr. Phil, the brilliant doctor, just said? I haven't asked, and he's, right now, this guy's not quick on his feet, because I asked him a question. He couldn't plan for what I asked him there. He didn't know I was going to say that. So this is just off the cuff. This is Dr. Phil having to think, and come back without pre-preparation. So here's what this moron says. I haven't asked a question because I have problems with the answers. Okay, well, where'd you get the answers from? Because you just said you never asked the question. So where are you getting these answers from? I didn't give them to you. Where are you getting the answers from, Phil? Huh? Do you have a medium, some psychic, what was it, LaToya Jackson psychic hotline? Madam Cleo? Where are you getting these answers? Because you didn't get them from me, Phil. You just said you never asked the question. But yet you have problem with the answers? What answers? Because I didn't give you any. You never asked the question. You see what I'm saying? So this guy's not very bright. He just said he hasn't asked the question because he has problems with the answers. Answers he's never heard. See, the reason, and I'm setting him up. I set him up right there. But these people in the audience are too starstruck to even catch that. Okay? I set Phil up. I asked him, you never asked me how I overcame the problem. Well, I'm going to ask the question because I have a problem with the answers. That's a setup right there. Because for Phil to say he never, asked the question because he has problems with the answers, clearly demonstrates that Phil is not really capable of critical thinking or thinking fast on his feet. He's not fast on his feet. Because that was just a completely stupid thing to say. Because, quite simply, you can't have problems with answers that you've never heard. I was baiting Phil. What I was expecting Phil to say, because I thought that this guy had a shred of decency, I thought that maybe there was just a shred of decency in the guy. So what I was the normal person who knows that he hasn't asked me that question would have said, okay, well tell me, how did you overcome the problem, Thomas? But not Phil. Phil's trying to appear to be intellectually superior. So what does he do? He makes a fool out of himself by answering with something completely, totally absurd. There's no way you can have a problem with answers that you never heard. And how do we know you never heard it? Because you never asked the question. Okay? And I was trying to bait him into asking the question. That's what the purpose of asking, of that statement. That's what that statement, the purpose of it was. Because I figured if this guy's got a shred of decency, he's going to go ahead and say, okay, you're right. I haven't asked you how you've overcome the problem. Why don't you go ahead and tell us? That's what a decent human being who is really concerned about solutions would have said. I'm interested to know how you did overcome the problem, Thomas. Tell us all. But no, not Phil, because this guy's scum. So anyway, moving on. Let's go on. There's more. We're just getting started here for a second.
You have a very much of
yeah, but you've never.
See now right there, and a lot of people didn't catch this. Yeah, but you have very much of a. This guy's struggling right there. This guy don't know what he's going to say right there. He's not quick on his feet. Phil is not quick on his feet, man. And I rescued him right there. He said, you have very much of a abadi. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. He don't know what the hell he's going to say. And I rescue him by saying, well, you've never had a compulsive problem, so what would you know about it, right? So I rescued the guy because he was floundering, struggling for something to say right there.
Will come exhibitionism, so what would you know about it?
well,
Unless you've lived this process.
See, and right there, he's struggling again. Struggling again. This guy don't know what the hell to say. And I want to clarify what I meant by you've never had a compulsive urges, so what would you know about it? Because he's what he's doing right now. He's processing in his mind one of his little quips that he can pull out of his ass to save face. That's all he's thinking about. He doesn't give a crap about my problem or anybody else's problem. He's trying to feed those vultures out there in those seats that came to see him rip somebody a new one. And that's you got to understand the thought process of this creep. The guy's a creep, and anybody who can't see it, I'm pointing it out to you right now. All of these little things, they're so obvious if you look at it. This guy's a creep. So anyway, there's more.
Because
okay, but that's
So I tell him, you've never overcome compulsive behavior, so what would you know about it? Now, what I'm saying right there is I'm not saying that as a counselor, as a psychologist, you can't help other people with their problems. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that, and here's my point with that, was that, and I guess that just went over his head. Well, not kind of. What I was saying, and he does get it here in a minute, you'll see that. What I was suggesting is that people who struggle with compulsive behaviors, they end up self-loathing. They can't look in the mirror. They hate themselves because they can't, they just can't control their own behavior. And that is a very devastating thing, for a person to have to, face about themselves. It just, and there's no way that you could understand that emotionally how devastating that is to a person unless you've had uh, experienced that. You can't just, that's not something you can just explain to somebody who's never experienced it. It's like skydiving. Yeah, I mean, you can explain it, but unless you've jumped out of a plane and you've felt that exhilaration, you don't know what it feels like. And so that was my point. But here's Phil. Now Phil, but he's going to dig in his ass and find a little quip, to impress the ladies in the audience, because it's mostly ladies, who are looking for him to, demean and belittle someone. That's what they're there for.
Problem because
okay, but that's like
as I said, I've tried
wait a
to kill
minute.
myself.
That's like telling a brain surgeon they've got to have had a tumor in order to help somebody.
No, it
that
isn't.
does.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. It isn't the same at all. It's not the same at all.
Okay,
it's not.
So he says by the way, he just compared himself to a brain surgeon. I want you to know. Dr. Phil just compared himself to a freaking brain surgeon. Okay, so Dr. Phil, the brain surgeon now. I'm poking fun at him right there, but of course, but he's not a brain surgeon. He's far from it. But the analogy that he just made, and it shows I mean, this guy's not quick on his feet. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed, but you have to take into consideration his audience. They're not the bright. I mean, these are not the brightest people either. They're not the most astute, people in the community either. These people are pretty doggone stupid themselves, because they don't have the capacity. They're not bright enough to see what he just said, to even consider what he just said. They just automatically start clapping like seals, at SeaWorld. But what he just said was that's like telling someone, and I'm going to tear it apart right now. I'm going to pick it apart for you right now and show you the flaw in what he just said. And it's a glaring flaw, which most of you probably have already figured out. It's like telling a brain surgeon that he can't help you unless he's had a tumor, right? Well, here's the huge difference. And I tried to express it here on the show, but again, I'm caught off guard. I'm out of sorts because he caught me completely off guard. I thought he was my ally. But he's attacking me, and I'm trying to process that, and at the same time keep my composure and be rational and logical. So, but here's what I was trying to say, and I'll put it more articulately right now. Here's the huge difference between a brain surgeon and a psychologist, psychiatrist, counselor, clinical social worker, what have you. A brain surgeon can remove the tumor all by himself, okay? He's going to take you into an operating room. He's going to take a scalpel and sutures, all the tools that they need in the operating room, and he's going to cut into your brain, and he's going to physically remove that tumor. And he's going to do it all by himself within probably a couple hours. I don't know, 2, 3, 4 hours. I don't know what brain surgery takes. But he doesn't need you to be involved. In fact, better you be unconscious. Now you show me a psychologist who can take you into a room and take a scalpel and some sutures and remove a behavior, and I'll show you one rich psychologist. But that we know is not possible. No psychologist can, and in fact, a psychologist, a counselor, therapist, whatever, can't remove your behavior no matter how long you give them. Because I'm going to tell you the only person that can remove that behavior, and that's you. You have to do the work. Unlike with a brain surgeon, you're going to be sound asleep. In recovery from compulsive behaviors, recovery from alcoholism, whether it's alcoholism or drugs, or whether it's washing your hands, whether it's crack cocaine, whatever it is, you got to participate. And in fact, not only do you have to participate, you have to do all the work. The only thing a psychologist can do is help you identify what the work you need to do, maybe, but you got to do the work. You can't lay there unconscious and think that a psychiatrist is going to remove your behavior in 2 hours or 3 hours. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that he made that comparison. That's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. Telling you that you can't, it's like what I said, that you wouldn't know anything about it because you haven't suffered from compulsive behavior, which I wasn't saying you can't help a person. I said you wouldn't understand what it's like. Okay? So people don't hear well. People hear what they want to hear, but they don't hear accurately what you're saying to them because they're so eager to hear that which they want to hear, desperately want to hear. Phil, rip somebody a new butthole. Okay? So they're hearing what they want to hear because they didn't just hear what this guy said. That was one of the dumbest things I've ever heard anybody in my life say. And I'm astounded that this son of a bitch has a television show advising people on important issues. This guy's a moron. Dr. Phil's a complete idiot. I mean, to anyone who would say something that stupid should not only not have a television show, but they shouldn't even have a close friend that listens to their advice. They shouldn't even, their closest friends shouldn't listen to him. And his closest friends probably don't, because his closest friends probably realize what an idiot, what an imbecile this guy is. This guy's a buffoon. So anyway, there's more. There's more. This guy ain't done being stupid yet.
The same at all. This is a behavior. It's not a condition of the mind that can be fixed by a doctor doing technical work. This is a behavior that unless you have experienced the humiliation of this behavior, you couldn't possibly know what it's like. So,
I have no question that that's true.
And right there, a lot of people miss that too. And I see it in the comment section that goes right over a lot of people's heads because they don't want to hear what he just said. He just said, oh, I have no doubt that that's true. So he just agreed with what I said. But I've read a lot of comments down below that say, that where people say, I'm being disrespectful right there, and that, I said that Dr. Phil couldn't help me and about the brain surgeon thing. And I get flack for that in the comments section because people didn't hear. Even Phil himself just agreed with what I said. So, I don't know, people just need to wake up, pay attention, and listen to what's actually being said instead of being so eager to hear what they want to hear. It goes on.
Don't show me your hand.
Don't show me your hand. Yes, sir, master. I won't show you my hand, boss. Where that cotton? I'm going to just go pick some more cotton and do like you said there. Okay.
Are you through talking?
yeah, I think
Okay.
I'm through talking.
We'll be right back.
Now it gets very interesting because here's where I start all that trouble. Okay, here's where I start all that trouble. So, Dr. Phil says, "Are you through talking?" Now he's going to get rude, and you can see this deer in the headlight. Look at that. Look at the expression on his face. Look at that deer in the headlight look in his eyes. There's no intelligence. That's not intelligence that you see in those eyes. That's not a look of thought processes going on. This guy's lost. This guy's lost. Look at him. He's not having a good day. I don't know. I guess he's used to people coming on there and just, I don't know.
Thomas, I've been over backwards for you, buddy.
I think you've tried to make a fool of me, buddy.
Okay, now I want to play that part back because a lot of people in the comment section, once again, just like Phil, he says, I've been over backwards for you, buddy. I'm hardly his buddy. So I tell him, I think you've tried to make a fool of me, buddy. Listen to it again. Clearly, if you listen to this, you can clearly hear me say, I think you've tried to make a fool of me, buddy. So listen to it again.
I've been over backwards for you, buddy.
I think you've tried to make a fool of me, buddy.
I think you've tried to make a fool of me, buddy. So, see, because at this point, they say, oh, he's angry. Well, yeah, I am angry. Because this guy backdoored me. This guy set me up to believe something that was not true. Let me tell you something. Any one of you would be upset if someone lied and manipulated you into a situation by telling you that you could expect this and that. And then when you get into that situation, they do the complete opposite of what they told you they were going to do. Yes, in order to try and make you look like a fool. Any one of you would be upset. So don't give me that crap about, oh, you're angry. You have no. And some people are so stupid that they've actually, in the comment section, I've actually heard people who are so stupid say this: "You haven't overcome your problem. You're angry." I overcame exhibitionism, okay? Not intolerance for stupidity. I still struggle with that, okay? Yes, I still struggle with intolerance for complete fucking idiots. And excuse my language. I know that use of profanity is not a sign of spiritual growth, and I apologize for that just now. But sometimes I do get angry, and guess what? Sometimes I even use profanity. So because I get angry and sometimes still use profanity, I haven't overcome exhibitionism. Why, that is just about one of the dumbest things. That ranks right up there with, that's like telling the brain surgeon. That's just about equally as stupid. So, and here's where we shouldn't be surprised. The same people who say that are the Dr. Phil supporters. So yeah, they're on about the same level. Dr. Phil's reaching people. I mean, hey, look, water seeks its own level, and birds of a feather and all that good stuff. So, one moron is going to attract morons. So in the comments section, I see all these people supporting Dr. Phil, and I get it. There are people who are just as stupid as he is. Now, not many of them, because again, in the comment section, you're going to see, and I'm going to take you down there here in a minute, you're going to see that most people are very intelligent. They get it. They get these things. Now, they may not have analyzed this, to the extent that I have, because, I mean, it's me. I'm the one being ridiculed, and I'm the one being demeaned, debased, and all these things, when all I was trying to do was something good for other people to make up for the wrongs that I had done. And I think that's something that in our society we're supposed to support, but I don't know. Some people are just sick in their own right, because I'll be the first to admit I was sick, and you wouldn't go to the hospital to cancer patients and ridicule them because they're sick. Why would you do that to somebody who's got mental issues, that's got behavioral problems? You shouldn't. You should want to help them, but there's limits. I mean, when it comes to like, harming children and stuff like that, of course, no. You got to draw a line, and people who present that kind of danger to the most vulnerable population in America, no, you got to protect that vulnerable population. Those children, you have to protect that innocence. And so those people, no, you got to do something with them. You got to do something with them to get them out and away from the kids. But people who struggle with like drug addiction and exposing themselves to grown women who, let's face it, a lot of them I'm not the first penis they've seen. Okay, far from it. A lot of these women have been around the block and then back around the block, and so and as I said, by far the women who were not offended by far outnumbered the women who were. But it's the women who were that make you feel like scum, And so that's where the motivation comes from to stop that behavior. It doesn't come from the woman who's like, and that you get off the bus with and go, that's not where the motivation to stop comes from. That's where the motivation to keep doing it comes from. And people don't seem to understand that either. People don't seem to be intelligent enough. Some people, like I say, most people are very intelligent, but there are some who don't even get that part of it. Sometimes behaviors are reinforced because there's a payoff. So anyway, let's move on, because there's more. There's more from good old Dr. Phil. He's not going to let you down. There's more from this guy. This guy's great.
Well,
here's where I start all the trouble.
Yeah. I don't think he wants to go forward with his girlfriend.
Yeah, I think I do.
I don't think he wants to go forward with his girlfriend, because here I had to have some kind of excuse for Dr. Phil to help me with something. And so what I told him was that I have a girlfriend who didn't know about my past, and that I wanted Dr. Phil to help me by, disclosing this information to her and revealing to her about the things that I had done in the past. What Bozo didn't know was that I felt it was so important to get this message out to people who needed to hear it, that I made that up. Tasha knew all about the behavior. She knew it because look, it had been years since I overcame that behavior. And aside from that behavior, it might shock some people to find out and to hear that I actually have integrity. I'm actually a very honest person. I've never done anything that I didn't confess to and own up to. I've always confessed and said, I did this and I'm sorry. I'm not that type of person. I'm a very, I'm the kind of person who has a lot of integrity, and I'm very honest. So, I do not like to lie. I'm not saying that I've never told a lie. I mean, don't be, let's, again, for the people who come and try to, pick you apart. No, I never said that I've never told a lie. I told a lie to get on this show. But the reason why I told the lie was because I thought that it was important for me to get this message out to people who needed to hear it. And I thought that was more important than telling Dr. Phil that Tasha didn't know about the behavior. It was the only way I could get on the show. You had to have something that Phil could help you with, because Phil's the star of the show. So that's why he thinks that I want him to help me break the news to Tasha, who already knew, because I have integrity, and I told her that when we started going out.
Said I did.
Well, why do you want to do that?
Because I said I would, and I'm a man of my word. When I say I want to do
Well,
something,
I'll certainly
I do
release you from that commitment whatsoever.
Well, no, I didn't ask to be released from that commitment.
Now, see,
I said I was
isn't
going
that petty and small? He said, I don't think he wants to go forward. See, I didn't say that. Did I say that? But this guy's now his ego has been touched. Now his ego has been touched, and he's going to, now you're going to see Phil's true colors, because he's going to get very petty and very small here. I never said I didn't want to continue. He said that because his little ego's hurt. He's butthurt. So he says, well, I will certainly release you. This guy's being very petty and very small right now. I'm ready to go do what I said I was there to do. But this guy, he's trying to antagonize me now. If anybody's starting trouble here, it's him. Because I'm ready to go forward, but who's starting the trouble? Where did the trouble start? I don't think he wants to go forward. Miss Thang, I don't think he wants to go forward, Miss Thang. Dr. Phil's the one starting the trouble here, okay? Certainly isn't me. Where did the trouble start? With that statement right there. I don't think he wants to go forward. I said, yeah, I'll do it. Well, why? I'll certainly release you. Who's the one starting the trouble there? He's the one being antagonistic. I'm ready to be cooperative and go forward, but he's being antagonistic and starting trouble with me, who's simply wanting to proceed and go on. Who's starting the trouble here?
Do something, and I intend to do what I said I was going to do.
Do you want my help with it?
That's how I live my life today. Yes, I do want your help with it.
Even though you think I've made a fool out of you.
See, right there. And I'm going to back that up, because here's another brilliant Dr. Phil moment. But right there, what he just said. Are you willing to go through it? Do you want my help? This guy's butthurt to the extreme. He is butthurt, okay? And he's being very petty, very small. And so then he says, even though you think I made a fool out of you? Now, if you'll recall, I played that back twice. And I never said he made a fool out of me. But let's go on here, because I'm about to make a fool out of him right now.
Even though you think I've made a fool out of you.
No, I don't think you made a fool out of me.
Well, that's what you said, and I can play that back. I got it on tape.
I said I think you've been trying to make a fool out of me.
Now, the audience started to cackle there until I came back and told him what I actually said. See, everybody thinks Dr. Phil is so intelligent, but this guy's so stupid, he can't even remember what I said. But I remembered what I said. I remembered very well what I said. I said, I think you've been trying to make a fool of... I said, I didn't say you made a fool out of me. What does he say? Oh, yes, you did. I got it on tape. I can play it back for you. Oh, he was game hen, cocksure of himself that he was going to play it back and catch me saying that you made a fool out of me. But look at his reaction when I say to him, I never said you made a fool out of me, Phil. You're so stupid and so senile. You're getting senile, pal. You can't even remember what I said. But I remember what I said. I said, you've been trying to make a fool out of me. Now watch how quickly he turns loose of that offer to play it back. He don't bring that up again. Watch.
Okay.
You can't make...
That's what you said, and I can play that back. I got it on tape.
I said I think you've been trying to make a fool out of me.
Look at his face. Look at that.
Okay.
You can't make...
Look, right there, deer in the headlights. This guy just got his ass handed to him right there. He was so cocksure of himself, that, I'll play it back. I got it on tape, and I'll play it back. I got him now, ladies. Come on, give me some applause here. And then I sprung it on him. No, I did not say, Mr. Old Senile Bastard, that you made a fool out of me. I said you tried. And was it okay? This guy's, he got respiration problems now. His blood pressure's going up. This guy's, he's having a panic attack right now. He's having one of them, what you call panic attack, anxiety attack right now. Look at his eyes. He doesn't know what to say now, where to turn.
A fool out of someone who doesn't feel like a fool. I don't feel like a fool.
Now look,
I don't feel like a fool at all.
Now
and everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and I respect that. I respect the fact that everyone has an opinion, and everybody's entitled. Okay. You can't make a fool out of someone who doesn't feel like a fool. I don't feel like a fool.
Now watch. You can't, make a fool out of somebody who doesn't feel. And I don't feel like a fool because he was the one who was wrong, not me. He tried to make a fool out of me, but in the process, he's made a complete ass of himself. Anybody who looks at this objectively, who's not, don't have a shrine to Dr. Phil and they're not engaged in Phil worship, anybody who's looking at this objectively can see that Dr. Phil, he's screwed up, man. He's mentally, this guy, his head's spinning. He's spinning, man. He don't know where he's at on his own. Look at him. Watch how long he keeps his hand in his coat. What's that all about? Who does that? I mean, I'm standing over here, got my hand in my pocket. Now, right here, you can see that I've got a big bandage on my finger, and that's because I, like an idiot, I slammed my hand in the trunk of a car at the airport when Tosh and I were getting our luggage out of the car. And he never did ask me, if what happened to my finger, if it was okay. Didn't pay me a dime. And I could go on with some of the things this bastard did, man. He's one greedy SOB, but look at how long he spends with his hand in his coat and kind of just staggering back and forth. This guy's head's spinning.
I don't feel like a fool at all. And everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and I respect that. I respect the fact that everyone has an opinion and everybody's entitled to that opinion.
Well,
everybody here's a Dr. Phil fan. They're not a Thomas fan. Nobody came here because they're a fan of me. They came here because they're your fans.
Okay, well, I'm happy to
so
talk to
anything you
this.
say, they're going to go along with that. So.
Well, I think that's
it's true. It's true. These are Dr. Phil fans.
Oh, listen.
So everybody just jumped on me right there, and boo, boo, hiss this guy, boo. You're making Dr. Phil. You're disrespecting Dr. Phil. I actually had some broad tell me, respect Dr. Phil, as I was walking through the audience. I said, yes, ma'am. All I said was, yes, ma'am. I was wishing she was a guy so I could slap the crap out of her. But no, I'm walking, to go backstage, to where Tasha's waiting. And this woman, you respect Dr. Phil. And she was a young woman. She wasn't old. And if she'd have been a dude, I don't know, maybe I'd have slapped her. Maybe I'd have bow, just, put some kung fu theater and, give her some ha-ta-ta, or something. But, nah, I just said, yes, ma'am, I'll respect Dr. Phil because obviously, this guy is deserving of respect because he's so bright.
You should read my message boards if you think he's...
Okay, well, whatever.
Cackle, 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 cackle. So right there...
But we'll certainly...
Right there, again, I make a valid point because these people are Phil worshipers. A lot of these women, these middle-aged, housewives, they go home and they have shrines with little Phil statues on them, and they, go say 5 hail Phils and 3 our Gales and 5 hail Phils, and they worship Phil at home. They got a Phil shrine and everything else. They didn't come there to see me. They're not fans of mine. I don't have a show. They're fans of Phil, who does have a show. And, who shouldn't have a show because he's too stupid to have a show. This guy's an idiot. And he has no interest in actually helping people. Whereas, me, that's what motivated me to go on the show, was just because I wanted to help people. So this is about over. We're going to go ahead and finish it on out here. That's about the end of it.
I'll meet you backstage.
Wonderful. Thank you.
We'll do that.
Thank you. So, in the end here, what happens Dr. Phil, I make a valid point. So what does he do? Well, you should see my message boards. Right? Shucky Green. Shucka, 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 shucky. Let's make a joke out of it. A very serious topic. And when all else fails, you know, rely on your celebrity status and make these bitches laugh. You know, and they'll go right along with him, you know, being the dedicated Dr. Phil worshippers that they are. They're going to go right along with this guy, and they're going to laugh on cue because Dr. Phil made it funny. So that's where we're at with that. Now, I did want to just real quick before I end this video, I want to go back to something that I was saying earlier, and then I'm going to end it. I know I've gone very long on this video, but again, this is the last time I want to address this this topic, and it's coming up on the 10 million viewer mark. And again, I don't know if that's the, I believe that it's the most watched Dr. Phil clip on YouTube. I believe. I don't think he has any other video clips that have eclipsed the 10 million views mark, for which I get nothing. I don't even have viewers on my little channel. I've been on my channel trying to make videos to help people overcome compulsive behaviors, alcoholism, whatever the issue is. So I've been trying to focus on making videos about those things because those things are important to me. I really do feel it is important for me to try and make amends for the things that I've done to cause harm. And the best way that I can think of to do that is to try and help other people who, you know, are struggling. I know it's a struggle. And so, again, I just want to, before I end this video, I do want to point out that, and this shocked me. I'm going to say that this actually surprised me because when I came on here to look down in the comment section, I figured I would see a lot of people attacking me. Now, there are 12,316 comments total here. And most people are very intelligent. I mean, most people see right through this guy. This guy's not fooling everybody. But there's a large section of our population that this guy has just completely bamboozled. This guy's got him hornswoggled. And but not everybody. If you in fact, if you look at the comments section, most people very smart. Dr. Phil just got owned and his audience was laughing and cheering for no reason. See, and that's a fact. This person is not delusional. That's what we just watched. To be honest, the guy made a lot of sense. Okay, meet you backstage is Dr. Phil language for catch me outside. Okay, I don't understand really what catch me outside. He didn't want to fight me. I'm a martial artist. I would knock the crap out of Dr. Phil. I don't know if you can see my hands there, but my knuckles got big calluses on them because I'm a martial artist. And so, no, Dr. Phil doesn't want to meet me outside. I don't think this clip is having the effect Dr. Phil CBS was hoping it would have. I guess that they consider trouble when you make a valid point, LOL. Where's the trouble? Guy is calm, composed, completely on point. Everything he said is bang on target. The guest is certainly not a fool. Considering the situation, I found him to be a class act. He knows how to handle himself in a high pressure situation. Thank you, I appreciate that. This guy's not starting a problem. He's talking his mind, defending himself, and I applaud him for that. Dr. Phil wants to control people's stories and opinions. This guy's not having it. No way. Jeez. And so, you know, it just goes on. Dr. Phil says anything, audience woo, claps. I thought this guest handled himself very well, actually. You should read my message boards. Yeah, boy, Phil doesn't even have comments turned on most videos, LOL. And then, this guy has a point. Looks like Dr. Phil can't handle being challenged. Pretty weak move by someone who's supposed to be an intellectual giant, which he's far from that. This guy's an idiot. The guy is much smarter than Dr. Phil. He was running circles around him, and that was unprepared. Now, see, this person recognizes that I did run circles around Dr. Phil, and I was unprepared. I was backdoored. I was not prepared for Dr. Phil to attack me the way he did. So I had to think on my feet. I had to be quick on my feet to comprehend whoa, whoa, whoa. For a minute, my head started spinning. I was like, wait a minute, whoa, what's he doing? He told me that he was, I'm a hero and thank you for, coming, having the courage to come forward and blah, blah, blah. What is he doing? He's attacking me. So I had to process that, keep my composure, and still not look like the fool he was trying to make me look like, or the villain that he was trying to make me look like. He was trying to make me look like a villain more, not only trying to make me look like a fool, but a villain, as if the behavior hadn't stopped. And I wouldn't have been on the show. The first thing I said was, you haven't asked me how I overcame the behavior. So, he's trying to portray me, and he's trying to present this whole show, as if this behavior is something that is still ongoing. And he knew better than that. He knew that wasn't the case. And here, it's been nearly 20 years, since I've overcome that behavior. It's been nearly 20 years. And so you can't remain free and, have a YouTube channel and just be for 20 years if you're still out there doing that. You don't last 20 years. You don't last a year. You can't rack up a year free, doing that. It's hard to rack up a year or two without getting arrested. You can't certainly accumulate things and live a life. And, I just lost my son, back in July of 2019. And, I have built quite a life with my son, and I was very proud of him. And, I don't want to start talking about my son because I'll start crying and I'll ruin this video. But I've had a pretty doggone good life. God's been good to me, and I've had a pretty doggone good life since this thing aired 13 years ago. And you can't do that if you're still engaging in this type of behavior. Phil knew that I had overcome that behavior. He just needed to satisfy the vultures that were occupying the seats in the audience. Dr. Phil got his ass handed to him, LOL. He should have flashed the audience. Well, no, I'm not going to do that. Well, that's the last thing he will see me do. I've overcome that. And so I haven't overcome my intolerance for idiots. I still struggle with being impatient with morons. Damn it, I'm trying to overcome that. But he should have flashed the audience. This man makes total sense. Dr. Phil's seriously condescending, which he was trying to be, joking when, about something serious, about his message boards. Like, seriously? Anyone else hate it when the audience applauds everything Dr. Phil says, which they do. They're engaged in Dr. Phil worship, man. He's completely right. Dr. Phil is wrong, and his audience is a crowd of yes men, but they're mostly women. But yes men's it's a figure of speech. I get it. I'm not stupid, Madeline. I get it, Madeline Monahan. But so yeah, this guy's a champ. Dr. Phil took his intelligence for granted, and thank you for that. I appreciate that. Look at all the comments defending this pervert, and here we go. Sure, he completely exposes his genitals to total strangers, but he is rather wise. Okay, Modern Plague. That's an interesting name. Or I don't know if this person is describing their personality disorder, or I don't know what that name is. Modern Plague. I'm just Thomas. But anyway, look at the comments defending this pervert. So, and here's what I'm saying. People like this come on here, and they are just like the people out in that audience occupying, all those, those vulture seats with the bloodlust and the thirst for, to see Dr. Phil rip somebody new. This is the same mentality as the people who actually are fans of Dr. Phil. You see, this person calls me a pervert, even though it's been nearly 20 years. This person doesn't have the intelligence to go up to the top, just scroll up to the top and look and see when this thing aired. It was 13 years ago that this thing aired. And about 5 years before that I had overcome the behavior. So it's been nearly 2 decades. It's been nearly 20 years, okay, since I've engaged in this behavior. But this person here still has me labeled as a pervert, which I'll be the first to admit I was doing perverted things back then, but who doesn't? Who doesn't do some perverted things? I mean, look, everybody, there's not a single person on this planet who doesn't engage in behaviors that they don't want other people to know. people go home, and in the privacy of their home, and in their when they walk into their home and close the doors and no one's around, they do things that they don't want other people to. Everybody is engaged in behaviors that they don't want other people to know about, whether it's belittling people, which, I mean, some people feel guilty about doing that, other people don't. Other people can belittle and demean people because they are such piece of craps that in order to feel good about themselves, they have to find someone else who they think is worse in order to feel good about themselves. And they have to not only find that person, but they got to hammer that person, and they have to demean that person, debase that person. They have to belittle that person in front of other people, so that they can look and say, look at this, what this pervert, this bastard, this piece of crap did. I'm a pretty good person. Yeah, I'm a pretty good person next to this one. Yeah. See, a person like that, that's a very sad thing to see if you know what motivates people who do this. This person has watched a 2-3 minute clip out of a 60-year-old life, and has in 3 minutes, based on this 3-minute clip, has me all figured out. I'm a pervert. Well, hats off to you, pal. You should have your own television show. You're magnificent. Yeah, this guy should have his own the Modern Plague should have this person should have their own television show, because in the 3-minute clip, this person's got me all figured out. My whole 60 years of life, this person only needs 3 minutes. So this is me just telling when I went on the show, I was hoping Phil would help me spread the word of recovery is possible for anyone. And so I'm just, sometimes, like I say, this was 8 months ago. And this was a year ago. Like I say, every now and then I come back just to look and see what's going on, what people are saying. Guy actually totally right on all levels. Dr. Phil's not always right. Facts. Why is everyone defending the dude who flashes women? He ain't exactly the smartest man on the block. Okay, Tyler Bryce. This is some guy named Tyler Bryce. Now, Tyler, once again, who flashes, not who used to flash. This moron is so stupid that he says present tense. And this is 2 months ago. This guy's a complete idiot. He's too stupid to read when this show took place, and he's too stupid to figure out the first thing I said in the clip was, how do I overcome the problem? Which was 13 years ago. This guy's so stupid, he can't process, okay, video 13 years old. Okay, first thing Thomas said, you'll never ask me how I overcame the problem. This would seem to indicate that Thomas has previously overcome the problem, which the video clip 13 years ago, Thomas overcome the problem at least 13 years. This person says, defending a dude who flashes women, because he's too stupid to go through that simple logical breakdown, that simple reasonable breakdown that most people, who comment down here can easily see. But not this guy. This guy says that he flashes women, indicating that he's so stupid he thinks that I still do this. Even though the clip is 13 years old, and the first thing I say is that I've already overcome the problem, which I'm telling you now was about 5 years prior to going on the show. So we've got 18 years right there, nearly 2 decades, almost 20 years. But this moron, because he's one of those people who has this sick need, and it's a sick need, to defame and demean and debase other people so that he can feel good about who he is. He must be the lowest form of scum if he needs to do that. Look, I understand some people are just not capable of critical thought, and they can't figure out, 13 years ago, and then he already overcame the problem, and he didn't ask him why, and some people, that's because, brother and mother or my parents, that, they can't figure these things out because they're a product of brother and mother, on a moonlit night. And so these people are born with deficiencies, kind of, and I'm poking fun. I'm just poking fun there, but it is true that people like this are like the vultures in the seats of the Dr. Phil show. They have a sick need to, demean other people without even thinking about what they're saying, without thinking about objectively about the situation, about the circumstances. They don't You know, time to actually think. Who needs to do all that thinking? Let me just attack somebody. It makes me feel good. You know, so this is such a person right here. This Tyler Bryce, boy, and he says that I'm not exactly the smartest man on the block. Well, Tyler, I'm smarter than you, because even I can see the dates on the video and put together the fact that I'm not still flashing women. The dude who flashes women. This is a dude who flashed women nearly 20 years ago. Try to keep up, okay? Try to keep up. Seems like our doctor is only willing to dish out constructive criticism and not intake. You can't help someone that doesn't believe you have any help to offer. So here's another one of those people, and I talked about this earlier. Here's one of those people who are too stupid to hear the first thing I said. You haven't asked me how I've overcome this problem. Clearly, this person is not capable of comprehending that I already overcame the problem. Dr. Phil, I didn't go on there for him to help me with that. What he was supposed to help me with when the trouble started going backstage was to go help me tell Tasha about my history, which Tasha already knew. But this person is saying, even if giving them the benefit of the doubt, this Derek Steiner, give Derek the benefit of the doubt. Let's say Derek, which I'm half sure that Derek thinks that I went on there for show to get help from Phil about the exhibitionism. I don't think Phil is up to par. I don't think he is mentally competent. I don't think Phil is mentally capable, let's say, of understanding that I didn't go on the show to ask Dr. Phil to help me overcome exhibitionism. He couldn't do that in an hour anyway, because he's not a brain surgeon and he can't remove a behavior in an hour on a television show. No, I went on there for him to help me tell Tasha about my past. So he says, you can't help someone who doesn't believe you have any help to offer. Okay, I'm going to give this guy the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to say that he knows that Dr. Phil, I was out there to get help from Dr. Phil breaking this news to Tasha, which I doubt that's what he thinks, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Even if he knows that the reason I was there is to ask Dr. Phil to help me break this news about my past to Tasha, he says you can't help someone that doesn't believe you have any help to offer. Well, if you go back to the part where I started all the trouble, when we were ready to go back to stage, it wasn't me who didn't believe that Phil had any help to offer. I was willing to go backstage and let him help me. It was Phil who started the trouble, telling me that, if you go back and look at the clip, he's the one who started saying, well, I'll certainly release you from that promise if you don't want to continue. I don't think he wants to continue. Phil's the one who started all of that. So it wasn't me. When you assign the blame for the conflict, as it pertains to accepting help, I was quite willing to receive the help. It was Phil who was wiggling around trying to get out of it. So here's another person who's just not too bright. Derek Steiner, you need to go back and rewatch this video and see it with clear eyes, because I think you're involved in some Phil worship. I think you're involved in some worshiping of Dr. Phil. You're not seeing it clearly, pal. I was quite willing to go backstage. It was Phil who was trying to wiggle out of it. I don't think he wants to go back. I never said that. I got up and was ready to go. I was walking that way, and he started shit with me. I don't think he wants to go back. I said I did. I said I would. Well, I'll certainly release you from that promise. No, I said I was. Well, even though you think I was making a fool out of you. This guy tried everything in the book, to wiggle out of helping me go tell Tasha about my past. I didn't try to wiggle out of it. He did. So, Derek, I don't know what you're thinking. And if you're thinking that I went on there for help with exhibitionism, that's because you're too stupid to hear the first thing I said. That I have already overcome the problem. And he never asked me how. Boy, some of you people are just sound asleep. Not most. Most people are very intelligent. Again, can you say paid audience? Yeah. Dr. Phil didn't stand a chance when the high power... God, no. I'm sorry. Look, Dr. Phil can't stand a chance with the high power God Thomas walked on stage. Okay, I appreciate, and I do. I don't want to sound, ungrateful for support. Much greens, much greens. I don't want to sound ungrateful for support because I am grateful to you guys for support, and I'm grateful to you guys for being supportive and for being intelligent enough to understand what's going on. But please don't call me God. Please don't call me God. Please don't do that. Because I'm far from God. I'm not even worthy. I'm not even worthy to get on my knees and talk to God. So please don't call me God. Okay? I love God. But please don't call me God. Okay? That hurts to see someone say that. And I know it's just a figure of speech. I know you're not calling me, I know you don't mean that, but I don't even like being compared to God. I fall down on my knees and I pray and I ask God, every day I get on my knees and I pray and I ask God to just let me draw closer to Him, and just let me feel your presence, and just give me more strength to resist temptations to, flip somebody off who cut me off on the freeway, or give me more strength to, resist, any temptations and do the things that are pleasing to you. And I sometimes get on my knees and I just feel like, thank you, God, for just taking care of me from day to day, and just for allowing me to understand, to have eyes to see and ears to hear the truth, because that's what Yeshua, HaMashiach, Lord and Savior Christ Jesus, said, that he who has eyes, let him see, and he who has ears, let him hear. And he said, you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. And that eyes to see and that ears to hear, that's called discernment. And God will give you that discernment, and I don't want to go too far into all that, but God set me free. God set me free from compulsive behaviors, and if Phil would have just said, how did you overcome the problem, I might have shared that with people. I don't know what I would have been led to say on that, but please don't call me God. Please don't do that, because I'm not I'm not even close, but I am grateful, and I do love God. So anyway, sorry about that, but that caught me off guard. Good Lord, Heavenly Father. I get annoyed at the fact Dr. Phil audience claps at most things. He says, great point. You can't make a fool out of someone who doesn't feel like a fool. I love it how pissy he gets when people call him out, especially when they suggest he just exploited people. He usually ends the interview right there, which he tried to do. Well, I'll certainly let you out of that. This guy. Phil logic. I burned my finger once, so I know what is to be on. So I know it is to be on fire. Okay, I get that. Phil logic. For a guy who's supposed to be a psych doctor, he's very emotional when not winning an argument. LOL. And so Phil is a show off. Used to be kind and patient. Something happened and he changed. Used to love that show. So Rosalinda Young says, Dr. Phil showed up here and he knows it, trying to soften the blow with that buddy shit. Yeah, I'm not your buddy. Good job. Dr. Phil got schooled. This guy was right. Everything he said, I have to give the credit to the guest on this one. Everything he says makes practical sense to me. Guy's right about what he's saying, and I feel secondhand embarrassment for the people in the audience at Dr. Phil, a bag and flip it, Dr. Philabag and flip it. Okay, I guess that's a pet name for Dr. Philabag and flip it. Okay, it's kind of funny. You couldn't pay me enough money to go on the Dr. Phil show. Well, you hustling me, boy. I actually 100% totally agree with you. You couldn't pay me enough money to go on the Dr. Phil show either. But as I stated previously in the video, I didn't go on the show for money. He didn't pay me a dime. I went on there because I thought that, I thought it would be a way to make amends and make up for, the things that I've done wrong in my life. And so I put myself out there like that because I wanted to help people, man. I wanted to just help people. I didn't get a dime, and I don't. It's not money that I'm interested in. It's just trying to help people, man. I just want to make up for some of the stuff that I've done. Just want to make up for some of the things that I've done, and just kind of, I don't know. I just want to make up for some of the things I've done wrong. So that's it. Honestly, I agree with everything he says. He isn't causing problems. I wasn't trying to. Thomas has valid points, this person says. So again, I'm not going to go too much farther in this. You guys can read these for yourselves. This guy's extremely smart. He outsmarted the doctor. Never had any time for Dr. Phil. He's a cheap act where it reads the mood of people around him and says what he knows they want to hear, making him appear more intelligent than he really is. He's a carny in a nice suit. That's pretty funny. I mean, the guy makes a hell of a lot of sense. Lessons: don't expose your PP, and you won't have to sit on stage and play victim. Okay, so for this person, T-Last, T-Last, no, I agree with you. Don't expose your PP is good advice. Unless you're married, and then your wife may want you to do exactly that. Your wife, girlfriend, whatever. How about don't expose it to strangers, where you might get in trouble. Even though a lot of times it's going to pay off because you're going to get laid a lot. A lot. And so I'm just lucky I didn't come away with AIDS or something. I mean, a lot of women, they did. A lot of women, were totally on board, So anyway, don't expose your BB and you won't have to sit on stage and play victim. First of all, I didn't have to sit on stage, and I never played the victim. I'm not a victim, and I wasn't behaving like a victim then. The only thing I was a victim of was being lied to by Dr. Phil, who made me, again, he set me up to think that he was on my side until the cameras. He waited until I was seated and all sit down and completely off guard, and the cameras started rolling. And then it's like, whoa, wait a minute, oh, me, you, friend, huh? Remember Kimosabi? How we, right? I mean, I ride with you alongside in the same posse? No. This guy, no, I didn't see that coming. Anyway, he's got a point, and absolute valid one too. Someone call security for this troublemaker. Dr. Phil, half of the time, makes the problems extremely worse and doesn't know WTF he's talking about. Hello, he just called him and the audience out. Not really trouble except for challenging their opinions. By the way, he's right about the audience. And you know what? I do, and I'm just going to, a couple more and then we'll end this. They need to bring this man back to the show. He would wreck Dr. Phil's whole career. And I've tried to get back on the shows. There's Jinx. Jinx, you know what? I've actually tried to get back on the show, but they won't have me. Dr. Phil won't have me, The producer probably would maybe be open to that. I mean, if tons of people, I mean, let's face it, this video's been watched by 10 million people. If 10 million people all said they'd tune in to watch it, they'd have me back in a heartbeat. Because 10 million views, do you understand what that means in terms of ratings? If the 10 million people who have watched this video all called CBS, I think it's CBS, I'm not sure, I don't even watch television anymore, but if they all called the studio and said, hey, we want to see a rematch between these two on an even playing field, and then see how Dr. Phil handles himself, if 10 million people pressured them, they would have me back on the show in a heartbeat. But that's never going to happen. This is why I'm making this video, because I wanted to have it out with him in my own way, just so I could have closure on this and put this to rest. And hopefully some of these people who say, oh, you can't help someone, don't want to be helped, and things like that. This pervert's exposing himself to women. No, 20 years ago. Try to keep up. This was 20 years ago, you idiot. these people who, and those are the most disturbing, are the people who come on here and they speak in present tense as if I'm still doing this stuff when this behavior is nearly 20 years ago. Good Lord. Try to keep up, my low forehead friend. So anyway, I need to bring this man back on the show. He'd wrecked Dr. Phil's whole career, probably, right? I'm pretty sure if the show kept airing and he started, he would have won the whole show over. His statements did make a lot of sense, and he was pretty sharp when Dr. Phil said, even though you said I'm making a fool of you, then he replied, I didn't say you made a fool of me. I said you tried. I didn't even catch that until I replayed it. Yeah. So a lot of people didn't catch that, Jinx, but you're one of the pretty sharp ones, and thank you for your support. I appreciate that. I'm just going to and don't be surprised, you folks down here in this section. Please don't be surprised if you find the link to this video in your comment, because I am going to go through and I'm going to leave the link to this video in the comment section of all you kind people and all of you unkind people, because you've shown enough interest that you probably would be interested to hear what I have to say about all this. And so what I have to say about all this is in this video. So I'm going to leave the link for all you guys in the comments section under each of your comments. So when you see a lot of, you probably won't see it, because I'm sure nobody's going to go through and look and see that I've left all these things, but maybe you will, maybe you won't. I don't know. That's a whole other rabbit hole, and I'm not going to go down. Okay, but Jinx, very intelligent. Robert Davis, I think the guest had a lot of guts to stand up for himself. Dr. Phil, introduced by Oprah and awarded a terrible TV show. And you're right about that, Robert. It did take a lot of guts, because let me tell you, I knew that I was going into the lion's den and everybody was going to be against me. I knew that there was not one single Thomas fan in that audience, and I knew how I would be received. But I just felt it was more important to get those words out there to people who are struggling and need to hear you can beat it. I thought that was more important. This guy is a hero. Well, thank you. Not. Makes lots of sense and exposed Dr. Phil for what he really is, arrogant smartass. And I don't think I'm any kind of hero. I'm just, I'm not a hero. I appreciate that. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate that. I really do. But no, not God, not a hero. I'm none of those things. I'm just, the Bible calls us filthy rag, and that's me, man. I'm nothing special. In fact, I'm just somebody who wants to do better and make up for, past mistakes, man. That's all. Thomas came in and took over Dr. Phil's show. Wasn't trying to do that. I thought Dr. Phil and I were going to tackle this thing together, but he started attacking me, and he kind of sounds like the 50s goofy character voicer, and I don't think that's me. Excuse me while I whip this out. No, I wasn't going to do that. I mean, it took me forever to overcome that problem. I'm not going to go back there. The man made good points and was trying to defend himself. Dr. Phil, the clown audience are ones at fault on this one. To be honest, he had a point, at least about the fans. Dr. Phil doesn't even have the right to practice psychology, blah, blah, blah. Dude, this cat owned poor old Phil. It's amazing how his show is supposedly about wanting to help people, but he cuts them off constantly to control the narrative. Loves the sound of his own voice, which he sure does. I'm not hard to believe. Feeling about helping nobody but himself. That's true. If he were a real pro doc, he'd shut his mouth and allow others to talk and still keep them focused on the topic. He talks just to keep people in the rating zone and to attempt to make himself look smarter and better than he is. He uses his wife as a tool to gain sympathy for the victim and to boost his or her newest product. I love he got his ass smacked, and even more so that his zombie horde did too. Well, thank you, Chris. You're on point. I mean, I can't argue with anything you said there. Phil lost his license to practice psychology. Phil got outplayed and definitely out intellectualized. I don't know the other guy though, but Dr. Phil looks bitter. He was bitter. Oh, you could see it. Very perceptive to see that. I mean, and I say, most of you people are very intelligent. Dr. Phil's not pulling anything over on you. You see who he is. He's the one exposed in this. He owned Dr. Phil, and that in spite of being tremendously outnumbered by the ridiculous puppet audience. Nice job, sir. Thank you. Moto became 1,000. Moto became 1,000. Interesting name. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I agree with the guest. Dr. Phil makes a program after his ratings. Doesn't care. He does not practice, and there's a good reason for that. Good for you, Thomas. Thank you, Sheila Cassidy. I appreciate that. Wait, I've seen this episode. The guest was right. Dr. Phil never actually asked questions to help him. He didn't even send him to a place to help him like he did with most others. Stuff like this is why Dr. Phil's kind of shitty. And you know what? Not only Keaton Castillo, not only are you right that he didn't send me to a place to... He did promise to send me somewhere to get help. He said that he was going to set me and Tasha up with someone to, counsel us and this and that. When we called, nothing. We called repeatedly. He lied. He never did arrange any of what he promised on the show. So I had forgotten about that until I just read that. But yeah, Keaton Castillo, that is correct. You're absolutely right about that. I'm still waiting for the part where he makes trouble. Okay, that's this video. I'm making trouble now. So, excuse me. Anybody who would want to appear on Dr. Phil's show to expose their problems to the world is foolish. Okay. Kexi Lay. I'm not even going to address that because I think everyone who has watched this video up to now understands that I didn't appear on the show to expose my problems. My problems had already been overcome. I said that first sentence in the video. The title of the video is meant to be Dr. Phil Meets His Match. Thank you. Dr. Phil has the look like he wants to slap the living daylights out of some of his guests. No, he wanted to slap me. But I don't know if he... I don't know. I think he knew better than try to slap me. I know that shit. This has the same energy as the Joker interview. Wow. I'm a psychologist. Why isn't this episode called Dr. Phil Gets Owned? Sim Gonzalez? Okay, that's interesting. Nicholas Najabi? Damn, this dude was very correct in his analysis of what was happening on the show. Well, thank you for that. So anyway, I'm not going to go any further, but I came on here, and this is amazing to me because honestly, and I gotta really, once again, I gotta thank all of you people who are very intelligent. I mean, you guys amaze me, with how perceptive you are because I think it was maybe a few years back. I remember about 4 or 5 years ago, I came and, just to look and see, because I do every now and then, just, wow, how many people have seen it now? Oh, almost 10 million, my God. So every once in a while I do, because I'm just amazed that people still even watch this video. I'm amazed that people still watch it. But obviously they do. But I'm so grateful to the people who are intelligent enough to understand and to get it. Because a few years back, I came on and seemed like there was a trend in people who, like the guy who called me pervert and the sicko and all this stuff, like I'm still doing this stuff, right? Like people who have problems shouldn't be, helped to overcome them rather than, just bashed because they're sick. I admit I was sick, man. But, isn't it better to help someone who is sick to overcome the sickness rather than to just sit there and feed your own ego and your own self-esteem? I mean, your self-esteem, I mean, that is a terrible method of feeling good about yourself. If that's what you have to stoop to feel good about yourself is, demeaning someone else for problems that they can't help, until they learn how, if that's the best you can do, and if that's the best you can come up with to feel good about yourself, you're pretty damn pathetic. You're pretty damn pathetic. why don't you try, instead of bashing people, try and contribute some solution? That ever occurred to you? Contribute a solution to the problem instead of adding to it by just, you know, demeaning, denigrating someone who actually really wants help. Because not Dr. Phil didn't help me overcome that problem, but don't you think for one second that I didn't have a lot of people who, prior to meeting Dr. Phil, did help me. Dude, I went to therapist, counselor after therapist. I voluntarily, look, I went to prison at one point, okay? And I was in prison for 2.5 years, and my sentence ended. But when I went in, I finally, there was a doctor, because I had a suicide attempt, and they set me down with this doctor, and I told him I don't want to live anymore. And I told him, you know, everything that I had done, and you know, that I felt like I'm a piece of crap, and I don't want to live anymore. I'm just a piece of scum, you know. And so this guy started working with me, and you know, he really started working with me, and he didn't want me to kill myself. He didn't want me to die, and he started working with me and everything. And so he set me up in a program in prison where he put me into impulse control group, a process group, one-on-one counseling, therapy. You know, there was another group. There were several groups, all these groups, and I was like, yes, I do want to participate. I didn't have to, but I did. And so I participated in all these groups, and after 2.5 years, you know, after 2.5 years, they came to me and said, your time's up. It's time for you to be released. I've never done anything that carried more than a couple of years. I mean, you know, 3-4 years or whatever. I've never done anything so bad that it carried, you know, a 20-year sentence or a 10-year sentence or anything like that. Just, you know, small stuff. I mean, I've never harmed anyone to, you know, physically where they required, you know, hospitalization. Nothing like that. I've never harmed anybody like that. So anyway, I'm participating in these groups, and I'm starting to learn about impulse control and, you know, all these things and stuff. And so 2.5 years, they said, well, your time's up. We're going to release you. And I was like, no, please don't do that. I'm getting, you know, I'm making progress in these groups, and I'm learning how to control impulses and stuff. I did an experiment and stopped smoking cigarettes. And so, you know, I'm learning how to stop behaviors right now. Please don't release me yet. Let that sink in for a minute. How many people do you think are in prison who, when their release date comes and they open the door, begs them to let them stay because they're involved in recovery programs, therapy? I'm not even going to answer that question. I think you can answer it for yourself. Anyway, this doctor says, well, it's mandatory. We have to release you. There's only one way that you can stay and continue to get treatment. And I said, well, what is that? And he's like, well, there's a new law, Penal Code 2437 or something like that. I don't remember exactly what the Penal Code is now, because this was back in 1994 or something like that. So he says there's only one way through this penal code. There's a new law that says if you tell us that you know you'll reoffend when you get back out there, and that you're incompetent to be on the street or whatever, he says what they'll do is they can't keep you here, but they'll send you up to this mental hospital. It's called a Tascadero Mental Hospital, right? San Luis Obispo is where I was in prison, and Tascadero, California was where the hospital was. So I was like, and he sold me on it. He's like, you know, we're just a prison, but that's a hospital. They've got all kind of programs to help you, right? And I was like, okay. He said, well, here's what you have to say. So he told me what to say to people. And so when time came, I said what the doctor told me, and sure enough, they transferred me. Instead of being released, you know, out of prison, they transferred me up to this mental hospital. Well, I get to this mental hospital. He told me, anybody can sit down and talk to you, and within 5 minutes they can tell you're not crazy. And, you know, he says you're intelligent, you're not crazy. He said, but you got to tell them and act like you're crazy and stuff. And so I was like, he said, but you'll go to the hospital, and this is just a prison, but hospital, they've got all kinds of programs that we don't have here, you know. And I was like, okay, I'll do whatever I have to do. I just don't want, I want to overcome this behavior, and I want to make sure, I want to be sure that when I get out, I don't, have to come back. And so this guy, I get to the mental hospital, I find out they don't have any programs, zero programs for my problem, none. I had all these great groups in the prison. Up here in this hospital, zero. Zip, none. He tells me it's involuntary. Anybody can tell you're not crazy. Anytime you want, it's a voluntary basis. You can get out whenever you want. Just tell him you're ready to go. Well, come to find out, he lied to me. It wasn't voluntary. It was an involuntary commitment this fool made me sign up for. An involuntary commitment to a mental hospital. So I go to this mental hospital. I find out not only do they not have treatment programs, this guy lied, but I'm stuck. It's not voluntary, it's involuntary, and I'm stuck now. I can't get out. So here I am in a mental hospital surrounded by, you guessed it, mental patients. I felt like I was one that flew over the cuckoo's nest, because I'm sane, and I'm like in this ward in this hospital with people who are insane. And so, oh man, God carried me through that, because I was there for about a year, and they treated me bad because of what I was, arrested, what I had been in prison for, the exhibitionism, all that. And so, boy, they treated me bad at that hospital, man. There were women, nurses, who just, boy, they treated me just bad because they thought I was just Satan or something for, for being afflicted with this compulsive type behavior. Not all the women. There were some good women there too, but there were a couple, man, who they just made my life miserable. And they would sick the male guards on me because the male guard's trying to impress this woman. So one time there was this guard, and this woman told him to escort me out of the cafeteria or something, because she didn't like me. So the guy was escorting me back to the ward and everything, walking down the hallway, and he's kicking my foot. And I'm telling him, stop kicking my foot. So the guy went to reach and put his hands on me, and I'm a martial artist. This guy ended up on the ground. He broke his arm or something. So they charged me with assault on a police officer and sentenced me to, I think it was 3 years. And they said, you have two choices. It's bad for you here. You've got a bad rap here. You can either plead guilty and go back to prison, or you can stay here. And so I was like, I'll plead guilty and go back to prison. I don't want no more of this. So they sent me back to prison. Spent, I went in with a 2.5-year sentence and ended up serving 5 years straight on this because I volunteered to stay in. And I never did get the help that I was promised. So I went back to prison, and I served out another prison sentence. It was a 3-year sentence, and I served about 1.5 years, 2 years on it. I served about 2 years on that. And so the end of those 2 years, my release date came up, and they said, you're not getting released. You're going back to the mental hospital. And I was like, oh, no, I'm not. They said, well, you don't have a choice because it's an involuntary commitment, so sign here. And I said, well, if it's an involuntary commitment, why do I have to, so what do you need my signature for? I ain't signing shit. So they said, well, it doesn't matter. Tomorrow on your release date, they're sending you back to the hospital. I said, well, I ain't signing nothing. And so because I didn't sign, the next day they didn't send me back to the mental hospital. I spent a year past my release date in that prison. Well, that next day, instead of going back to the mental hospital, I went over to the law library, and I spent every day in that law library for a year. And I filed a petition for writ of habeas corpus. It was denied in the Superior Court. I appealed it. It was denied in the appellate court, and I appealed it to the California State Supreme Court, and all of that took me a year. At the end of that year, the California Supreme Court granted in my favor a petition for writ of habeas corpus, and they ordered the prison to release me out of the front gate, and they let me go that day. It was 1 year. It's about 1 year exactly that it took me to represent myself and get released from that prison without having to go back to that mental hospital that hated me. And so, but that was God. I'm convinced that was God, because I'm not that bright, to beat the entire state. Look, it was me against the state of California, because the Attorney General of the state of California was who represented the prison. They were handling the legal work. It was an office full of, so I beat them. And there's no way I did that by myself. That was the Lord guiding my hand on that paper. So anyway, all that just to say is that after that, I continued to go to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings just because that 12-step program, it seemed like something that would be beneficial to helping to change a behavior. I mean, it worked for alcoholics. There were tons of alcoholics who have overcome drinking by working those 12 steps. And I thought, hey, if I just take the word alcohol in my mind, I'm remove that word alcohol and put exhibitionism in there. And so I went to these AA meetings every day. I even put myself in a halfway house, I learned that program. I went through all 12 steps, and I got a sponsor. And on step 4, I did what it says. I wrote down every scumbag thing I've ever done in my life, and I shared it with this guy, Dan, who I picked to be my sponsor because Dan had this kind of sobriety that I wanted, And so Dan worked with me, and I went through those steps. And, and then after that, I continued. I went to a place called Recovery Innovations where, I went to classes and, for recovery and this and that. And then one day, I just noticed I don't have that urge, that nagging urge that's been with me for all these years. That urge, I'm not feeling it anymore. And I just noticed that it was gone. That nagging urge to that obsessive compulsive urge was just gone for the first time since I can remember. I don't remember when I didn't have that compulsive urge on my back. I don't remember. And now, after all this time, one day I just noticed it's gone. And I was like, thank you, God. And I'll tell you, I cried. I got down on my knees and I thanked God, man. Because it had been, I can't even remember how long it had been since I was free from that compulsive, nagging urge just always on me. And it was gone. And it's been gone ever since. It has not come back. And it's been almost 20 years. So, Dr. Phil would never have allowed me to share that story right there on his show. He never would have allowed me to share that. But see, that's where, and I learned this in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I've got my big book of Alcoholics Anonymous sitting right over here. I'm not going to get up and grab it, but it's sitting right there. And my Bible's sitting right here. I keep this right here, and I keep my big book of Alcoholics Anonymous right there. My HVAC book to learn heating and air conditioning I keep over there because it's a big-ass book. But, Phil never would have allowed me to say, but that is the story of, if he would have asked me how I overcame the problem, I would have told him. Because that's how. It took me a long time. It took me a long time to overcome that problem. So if for anyone who's struggling with any kind of compulsive behavior, any kind of compulsive disorder, I want to say this to you. You can overcome that behavior. I guarantee you. I make you this guarantee. If you want to overcome that behavior badly enough, if you're willing to say, I don't know, give up your freedom and remain in prison, or go through the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and work every one of those 12 steps, get a sponsor and do all of that, and then continue by going to another place and taking this and taking that. If you're willing to do anything it takes to be rid of that behavior, I guarantee you can be rid of it. I guarantee you that. Don't let any retarded, district attorney sitting there talking about your neural pathways being set. Don't listen to that bitch, because she's a lying scumbag, or she's just plain damn stupid, because it's not the truth. I've just told you the truth. And for scumbags like Dr. Phil who say, well, I find that hard to believe, guess what? The truth doesn't give a damn what you believe. because the truth remains the truth, and it is not contingent upon your belief in it, arrogant though you may be in your own opinion of yourself. No, matters not what you believe, Phil, or anybody else. I just told you the truth. And hopefully the truth will make you free. So, just having said all that, I'm going to go ahead and end it right there. And I hope that, I know that the first part of this video I spent, just kind of clearing some things up and, dispelling some myths and misconceptions about the reason why I went on the show, and a lot of other things. I went through all that, but this last part, after sharing with you how grateful I am for the people in the comment section who overwhelmingly are the majority, very intelligent people who I think most of them also not smart enough to see smart enough to see the truth. Not only that, but also are actually good people, in here where it counts, because that's really where it's at, and that's what it comes down to. Is because, yeah, I did some bad things, but I think some of these people who are attacking me, and I guarantee you, these people who do this, I'm not the only one they attack. They probably make they probably have that's their career. They go around seeking whom they can devour. But these people, I guarantee you, don't pay any attention to people like that, because their lives are pathetic. This is all they have. This is all they have. So, but most people, I'm so grateful. Not only are you intelligent enough to see what's going on, but I think you people are the same ones who have the good hearts, because that's what really counts. What comes down to it is what's going on in here in your heart. So I think there are people with good hearts, and I think we all need to remember this, and that is, and I'm gonna end with this right here. Sometimes good people do bad things, but here's the difference between good people and bad people. Okay, because bad people do bad things too, but it's not the doing the bad things that is the determining factor in whether or not we're good people. The determining factor in whether or not we're good people is not based on whether or not we do bad things, because we all, good and bad, do bad things. The determining factor in whether or not you're a good person is this: if you're a good person and you do bad things, you feel bad about what you've done. You have remorse, and you grieve. You grieve the things that you've done, and you have a desire on the inside to make it right. You have a desire on the inside to make amends, because you don't want to leave it like that. You're a good person, don't want to leave it like that. Bad people also do bad things. They just don't give a crap. It doesn't bother them, you see. So, for those who completely label someone a bad person because they've done bad things, you're just not that bright, because you're incapable of thinking a little deeper. So I'm going to leave it right there. And I'm going to say, once again, I appreciate all you folks in the comment section. I even appreciate the people who attack me in the comment section, because it just reminds me that, of who's out there in this world. So I'm going to leave it right there. And I just want to end by, once again, saying thank you guys. And I do love all you guys, man. I do love all you guys. And I just hope that, if you do suffer from compulsive behavior, that this may have helped you. And until I talk to you guys again, this is the last video that I'm going to talk about Dr. Phil. And I think I've covered everything. And so I'm going to leave it right there. And just going to say, God bless you guys. And hope you take care of yourselves and take care of the people that you love.